Hello everyone, welcome to Mufasa's book readings. My name is Julia and I am your reader for today. Today we're introducing our new book. Here's the cover. Let me read the title. It's titled The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Okay, so I'm really excited with this book, and it has 4 parts to it. Today we'll be starting with the first segment of part 1, and part 1 is titled Paradigms and Principles. And part 1, the first segment of part 1 is titled Inside Out. It starts off with a quote by David Starr Jordan. The quote reads, "There is no real excellence in all this world which can be separated from right living." Okay, so I'll start on with the reading. In more than 25 years of working with people in business, university, and marriage and family settings, I have come in contact with many individuals who have achieved an incredible degree of outward success, but have found themselves struggling with an inner hunger, a deep need for personal congruency and effectiveness, and for healthy, growing relationships with other people. I suspect some of the problems they have shared with me may be familiar to you. These are the problems, sorry. I've set and met my career goals, and I'm having tremendous professional success, but it's cost me my personal life and family life. I don't know my wife and children anymore. I'm not even sure I know myself and what's really important to me. I've had to ask myself, is it worth it? I've started a new diet for the 5th time this year. I know I'm overweight and I really want to change. I read all new information, I set goals, I get myself all psyched up with a positive mental attitude and tell myself I can do it. But I don't. After a few weeks, I fizzle. I just can't seem to keep a promise I make to myself. I've taken course after course on effective management training. I expect a lot out of my employees, and I work hard to be friendly towards them and to treat them right. But I don't feel any loyalty from them. I think if I were homesick for a day, they'd spend most of their time gabbing at the water fountain. Why can't I train them to be independent and responsible, or find employees who can be? My teenage son is rebellious and on drugs. No matter what I try, he won't even listen to me. What can I do? I see my friends or relatives achieve some degree of success or receive some recognition. I smile and congratulate them enthusiastically, but inside I'm eating my heart out. Why do I feel this way? My marriage has gone flat. We don't fight or anything. We just don't love each other anymore. We've gone to counseling. We've tried a number of things, but we just can't seem to rekindle the feeling we used to have. These deep problems, painful problems that quick fix approaches can't solve. A few years ago, my wife Sandra and I were struggling with this kind of concept. One of our sons was having a very difficult time in school. He was doing poorly academically. He didn't even know how to follow the instructions on tests, let alone do well in them. Socially, he was immature, often embarrassing those closest to him. Athletically, he was small, skinny, and uncoordinated, swinging his baseball bats, for example, almost before the ball was even pitched. Others would laugh at him. Sandra and I were consumed with a desire to help him. We felt that if success were important in any area of life, it was supremely important in our role as parents. So we worked on our attitudes and behavior towards him. We tried to work on him. We attempted to psych him up using positive mental attitude techniques. Come on, son, you can do it. We know you can. Put your hands a little higher on the bat and keep your eye on the ball. Don't swing till it gets close to you. And if he did a little better, we would go to great lengths to reinforce him. That's good, son. Keep it up. When others laughed, we reprimanded them. Leave him alone. Get off his back. He's just learning. And our son would cry and insist that he'd never be any good and that he didn't like baseball anyway. Nothing we did seemed to help, and we were oftenly worried. We were really worried, sorry. We could see the effect this was having on his self-esteem. We tried to be encouraging and helpful and positive, but after repeated failure, we finally drew back and tried to look at the situation on a different level. At this time in my professional role, I was involved in leadership development work with various clients throughout the country. In that capacity, I was preparing bi-monthly programs on the subject of communication and perception for IBM's Executive Development Program participants. As I researched and prepared these presentations, I became particularly interested in how perceptions are formed, how they govern the way we see, and how the way we see governs how we behave. This led me to a study of expectancy theory and self-fulfilling prophecies, or the Pygmalion effect, and to a realization of how deeply embedded our perceptions are. It taught me that we must look at the lens through which we see the world, as well as at the world we see, and that the lens itself shapes how we interpret the world. As Sandra and I talked about the concept I was teaching at IBM and about our situation, we began to realize that what we were doing to help our son was not in harmony with the way we really saw him. When we honestly examined our deepest feelings, we realized that our perception was that he was basically inadequate, somehow behind. No matter how much we worked on our attitude and behavior, our efforts were ineffective because despite our actions and our words, we really communicated to him, what we really communicated to him was, you aren't capable. You have to be protected. We began to realize that if we wanted to change the situation, we first had to change ourselves. And to change ourselves effectively, we first had to change our perceptions. Okay, so this next part that I'm going to read is titled The Personality and Character Ethics. At the same time, in addition to my research on perception, I was deeply immersed in an in-depth study of success literature published in the United States since the 1776. I was reading or scanning literally hundreds of books, articles, and essays in the fields such as self-improvement, popular psychology, and self-help. At my fingertips was the sum and substance of what a free and democratic people considered to be the keys of successful living. As my study took me back through 200 years of writing about success, I noticed a startling pattern emerging in the content of literature. Because of our own pain and because of similar pain I had seen in the lives and relationships of many people I had worked with through the years, I began to feel more and more that much of success literature of the past 50 years was superficial. It was filled with social image, consciousness, techniques, and quick fixes, with social band-aids and aspirin that addressed acute problems and sometimes even appeared to solve problems temporarily, but left the underlying chronic problems untouched to fester and resurface time and time again. That is our reading for today. I hope you really found that fruitful. I think what I took out of today's reading is the fact that perception really is important. How we see the world, how we think the world is really is important. I'd really like to hear from you. What is it that you think about today's reading? And yes, if we could engage in that more, you can find this video on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Goodbye.